This is Let's Make Waves podcast. I'm your host, Rana Al-Basri Marwad, and I believe that we're all here to make waves. I created this podcast to help you build your brand by sharing with you tools, resources, and strategies to gain professional authority for better business opportunities. If you want to get unstuck, you've come to the right place. Let's get started. Hi, everybody. Welcome once again to another week and another episode of Let's Make Waves podcast. As always, I'm really happy to have you here with me today. Now, if you've been following my journey for a while, you'd know that before embarking on this journey that I'm in as a consultant, I had a corporate career that spanned 15 years in amazing global organizations. I had the privilege and the chance to work and be responsible for regions such as Middle East and Africa. Now, needless to say, being part of that world has impacted me greatly, not only on my career path at the time, but also on the type of professional that I am today. Just like any job, I'm not going to lie, there has been ups and downs, but I have to say that the ups and the lessons that I've learned along the way, or especially from my mentors, they've impacted me positively on my journey in creating a business of my own. So I wanted to come to you today. I chose 15 lessons that I learned during my 15 years at corporate that impacted my business and definitely impacted my style of work today. I'm really, really happy to share this. It's the first time a personal, professional piece of my life with all of you. And these lessons are evergreen and they're so powerful, to me at least. And I really hope that some of them will give you guidance or help you to see a different perspective of doing work within your business. Now, there's a lot of things that happen in the corporate environment, and not all of them at the time can be taken and seen that it could be translated into other kinds of business environments. But over the years, as my career matured and pivoted, so was these lessons. They kind of morphed and changed, and there were bits and pieces of it that actually were pivotal in being translated into what I'm doing today. So again, I do hope that these lessons that I'm about to share with you will help you to see a different perspective and will help you see kind of another creative way of doing things within your business, or at least will impact you in the way that you look at your business and how you can go about your plans. Okay, so the first one is about information. As you know, in a large organization, they usually have budgets that are allocated to research. And research takes a very important role in a corporate environment, be it through focus group, research organizations, even the IT department, which is in charge of collecting data from digital assets that the company has. So the reason why research is so important is because even for large established organizations, they understand that the core of their business is rotating around the customer or the prospects. So by understanding their purchase behavior, by understanding their behavior in terms of connecting with the company, everything to do with that relationship between the customer and the organization is something that is very important and very relevant in the corporate world, because it is through this information and through the data that certain insights are being taken, and by analyzing those insights, plans can be created and a more focused approach can be done. So I understand that us as consultants or small business owners, we don't have the same bandwidth in terms of budget when it comes to working with third-party companies, research companies, of course. But what we have is we have direct access to our own assets. It could be our website, our blog, our email marketing, even our social media assets. By being getting and being comfortable with going to the back end and looking at the numbers and looking at the data, and also assessing all of the different touch points that we connect with our customers, or our customers connects with us directly on DMs, on emails, or even in person if we have a brick and mortar kind of business. By taking all of that information in and making sure that we do collect data at different touch points, what happens is that it will empower us to understand our customers more. And by understanding them, we become more aware of their behavior and more aware of where what is attractive to them, what is repelling them, and what do they need. And therefore, it makes our planning, from product creation to marketing to publicity to communication to content to everything, it makes it much more focused, and it gives us, an extra mile for every dollar that we spend, or even our time and efforts. So once we get comfortable with data and with embracing information, I believe that it kind of helps us to elevate our approach when it comes to our planning. So that's one of the lessons that I definitely took from my corporate time. The second one is all about collaboration. Now, in a corporate environment, there are a lot of departments, as you know. However, not all departments have the same budgets or even size of teams. Each department, depending on what it's about and what is its work type, to the overall target or to the overall company goal, there are departments that are, usually large and with high budgets, and there are departments that are much smaller teams, smaller budgets, and all of that. So you kind of learn in that environment the importance and the power, if I can use that word. Sorry, I kind of lost my flow of thought. Yes, the power of being resourceful. So you kind of have interdepartmental collaborations. This gives you the strength to kind of work with a larger team. Maybe certain resources are shared. So if you don't have the budgets to build something, just by sharing certain responsibilities with other departments, that interdepartmental resourcing or collaboration, that kind of gives you the access to a bigger team or to shared resources. So it basically helps you to get the job done. Collaborations is also easily translated into a small business by finding and searching for supporting companies, complementary services, even with certain vendors or suppliers, even peers in certain instances, by really putting collaboration at a priority list. It gives us access to be in front of an audience that we don't have access to. It gives us access to collaborate with partners to tackle a certain project that usually is too big for us alone as consultants, for example, to tackle it on our own. So collaboration gives that kind of bandwidth, whether it is monetary or whether it is in terms of efforts. It gives us that bandwidth to take on projects and to position ourselves in a much better light when it comes to working on our business. So that's a huge lesson, definitely. The third one is about always having a plan B. Now, in a large environment or in large organizations, decision making is it's a constant thing. You always have to take in all of the information, see where exactly you are, and as an executive, you have to be comfortable in taking decisions. And I strongly believe that making a decision is better than no decision. Of course, we have to keep in mind that our decisions are, well calculated. There are risks and everything, but it's a calculated risk. So no matter how much we have access to information to kind of help us take the best decisions ever, there are always risks involved. There's always risks that this decision that we took, there are some blind spots that we were not aware of, and things can go south. So being into the habit of always having a plan B or a contingency plan, especially when it comes to things like reputation management, is key. So having the habit of creating contingency plans when we're taking major decisions in our business, or for example taking decisions when it comes to really large projects, always having a contingency plan gives us that comfort and peace of mind, knowing that if anything happens, we would know what to do next, or our small teams would know what to do next. We are able to pivot when things are not going our way, just like as planned. So that would be another big lesson, definitely for me. Number four would be not to neglect publicity. Now, as you know, even with very established brands, even with very established and large organizations, the PR department, the communication department, is a department that has its weight and has budgets to create plans and activations that keeps the publicity efforts of that company consistent in media, in podcasts, newspapers, radios, magazines, social, and all of that good stuff. So this just shows the importance of PR and publicity and media relations to the positioning and the overall image building of the organization. So many small business owners put PR in the back burner. We're either you know very small, or it's a one-man show, or we have a very small team, so PR doesn't take a prominent position in our planning or in our to-do list. However, I've learned that publicity is something that we can never put aside, or we shouldn't put aside. We have to always make some time to create relations and to create connections with media, or with even socially with influencers, because that is also part of how we build our image, our reputation, our influence, thought leadership, and of course our connection to our prospects and our audience at the same time. So I think the biggest learning is, regardless how big, how small you are, regardless how established your brand is, or how well known your product or service is, publicity is not something that should be taken for granted. So there's the lesson there. Okay, so we've hit number five, and that is when you present yourself. This is a learning, definitely, is that when you present yourself, you represent the brand as well. And what I mean by that is, in large organization, especially on a senior level, senior executives are usually they have their own personal brand, especially within the industry, but they also represent the overall company brand. So whether it is online and offline, that kind of representation stand. When employees of large companies attend seminars, networking events, conferences, they are well trained and very much aware that they not only represent themselves as professionals in that conference, but they also represent the company. So being aware of that puts you in a position where you know that there's a lot at stake when it comes to reputation management. On a smaller scale, as a small business owner, that cloud of brand and the cloud of the personal brand kind of overlap. You are the company's brand, and the company is very much your personal brand. And that is true, especially at the early stages of, creating your own business. people work with you not just because of the business that you have created, but it's also because of you as the person behind that business or heading this business. So being very much aware of the importance of always keeping yourself in the positive light and well representing yourself and building your personal brand, because that will impact the business brand. Keeping that in mind is definitely a learning, and it has served me well over the years. I have to say this was something that impacted positively on my personal experience, and when I'm as I'm creating my uh, consultancy. Okay, so now it's lesson number 6, and that is about decision making. Um, there's so many times that things happen, uh, things that are sometimes unplanned and unexpected, and we as executives in an organization, we sometimes need to take decisions because it's the right decision for the short term goals. But when we take that decision for the short term goals, it should not be an opposite or a conflict with our long term goals for our brand or for the department that we represent. This is especially true for, or a very big learning for small business owners. Sometimes we have certain challenges in our business, so we take certain decisions in our business that are very short-sighted. And I'm saying that with a lot of grace, because I know that we as small business owners, there's a lot of pressure when it comes to profits and losses and, and all of that, the financial health of our small business. So sometimes we feel like we need to take certain decisions just to keep us afloat. However, what I've learned is that no matter what the challenges are, we have to always be very mindful that yes, we need to pivot, and sometimes we need to take hard decisions, but we cannot ignore that these small decisions that we take for short-term goals will impact at one point our long-term goals. So just being mindful that short-term decisions have to somehow pour into or be positioning ourselves into the overall long-term goals. We have to be really mindful of that, even though there are a lot of pressures that could go around, when we're building our own business. Learning number 7 is that always invest in yourself. Now, in large organizations, they have a lot of training sessions and conferences and a lot of programs that they invest in their employees, depending on departments, of course, just to keep them up to date with what is out there in the industry, in the market, in the region that they're in. And these kind of trainings, some of them are very much related to the company or the particular products or service of that company. But there are also a lot of training that kind of pours into leadership and growth and management and all of that good stuff. As small business owners, we don't have the same budgets for training courses, sure, but there's just so much information out there, and there's so many free courses out there that I think that it is important to always set some time aside for us to take personal growth and business and a personal growth that impacts our business seriously. So setting goals into our personal growth is important. It has to be done intentionally, and also a proper research on what are the resources out there that we can invest in terms of paying for it, or free resources that we can take, free workshops, free master classes, even free digital courses that are out there that gives us access to mentors, to professionals, to tutors that can help us elevate our knowledge and gives us access to information that we might need if it's not current, definitely in the future, that would impact positively on our business. So, definitely having a personal growth on the list is a huge priority, and definitely a very big lesson for myself. Number 8 would be about onboarding processes. In large organizations, when somebody new comes in, there's usually very solid onboarding processes. So it's a process where this new employee is getting trained to get on board and being part of a larger team within the department. And that kind of onboarding is not only about technical things like how to use certain platforms or intranets that are very specific and private to the company, but it's also an onboarding in terms of department information, in terms of overall company information, processes that happens for to empower this employee to, once they're 100% on board, it becomes easier for them to start working and shining and showcasing their expertise in the role that they were hired for. So we as small business owners might not have large teams. However, every single person that comes in, and because time is of an essence to a small business owner, we wear a lot of hats, so we need to be really mindful of our time. Creating onboarding processes is just makes our life easier. It's time that is invested for the short term that kind of has a lot of return on investment in the long term. So that's in terms of hiring or growing a team, but it's also it is also a tool that can be used when we are working with a vendor or an agency or a supplier. Having a day where we use it as an introduction or an onboarding session with very much build confidence and also trust into the relationship between us and that vendor. So it works both ways, internally and externally. Number 9 would be, we're never too big to stop trying to understand our customer. Yes, this is somehow based also on data, but also it is about the mindset. So regardless, as a corporate executive, no matter how established the brand is, no matter how popular the brand is, or the market share that we had as an organization, we always had that mindset that the customer is the center of it all, and we are never too big as an organization to always try to understand our customer, to understand their behavior, and to be open to changing our internal behavior so that we are in sync with our customer. So if the behavior has changed into more because of the digital world, then we as a company, for our own survival, we have to also do certain changes and certain pivots. Now, this is especially true when you become a small business owner, because it is very crucial that the two-way communication with the customer is always there, so that we are always in sync with their behaviors and with their pain points and with their requirements and aspirations as well. So we have to always keep an open mind, no matter how much we are very convinced and very proud of our service or product. At the end of the day, the behavior of the customer proves whether our product or our service is up to level or up to their interest. So the mindset of being, always having that entrepreneurial mindset of putting the customer at the center of it all is really, really crucial. Lesson number 10 is about, the network of the company. Now, as I said, in the large environment, there are a lot of events and a lot of activities that different departments take in, such as networking events. And the reason why things like that happen, big companies participate in networking events, it's first of all for publicity reasons, but also it is for networking reasons. So networking plays a very important role. It adds value to the company. So if we translate that to a consultant or a small business owner, you are as your reputation is as powerful as your network. So there are so many business owners who are very well known within their industry and who have a very strong network. And that puts them in a position where they are up to date with what the industry is all about, but also their network helps them to expand their business and expand their reach, be it if it's a business B2B or even B2C. So putting weight on having a good network as a small business owner or as an entrepreneur, it's something that has of a very big value to your personal brand, but that value will be translated into business for your actual company. So that kind of value is going to be translated, hopefully, to sales. Learning number 11 is that not everything deserves a meeting. And I think this is more about time management because there are certain parts of, especially when you're starting a new project or you have a certain activation that you're planning to do. This is when meetings and having FaceTime with the team or the vendor, the supplier, or the partners is crucial because that's when plans are being set and targets and also distribution of responsibilities. But then from then on, there has to be certain channels of communication where it kind of pushes into productivity versus just, time wasters. So we have to recognize what are the things in our business that require our one-on-one presence, and what are the parts of projects and parts of our business where using technology such as productivity tools or Zoom and and all of those, kind of Teams, Google Teams, or all of that, it's actually much better. It kind of puts us in a position where we are aware of the importance of our time and we kind of manage it well. And we also maximize productivity every hour of that working day. Lesson number 12 is that before you send an email, pick up the phone. Now, I've learned this especially during the time of conflict, when there is something that is kind of coming to surface that could be something that could cause a certain conflict with it, be it internally within the organization or between the company and a vendor or a supplier. It is always important to be mindful of that relationship and looking at it from a partnership point of view. That doesn't mean that if a relationship is not working, we shouldn't end it. Not at all. But in the early stages of, when you see a conflict coming up, picking up that phone and being open in terms of the communication just makes things clearer, and of course it puts the human element into it. By doing that, we are not only showing empathy, but we're also showing leadership as a business owner, because we recognize that there are other factors that could cause a delay or cause a problem or maybe lack of work that could have factored into this issue that is, that is creating this conflict. So when we see, a conflict coming to surface, and we start by putting an effort into having a human connection, there is more times than none that actually the conflict is being resolved and things are back to normal again. It is by trying to translate what you're getting your point across into an email or into a quick message. Sometimes information is lost in translation, and people receive information in different ways. So because we don't have the human element in emails, sometimes people read things with different tonalities than what it was intended by the sender. So this is more of leadership skills and management skills, but it proves very, very, very positive when we use it as small business owners, because we kind of contain something that could go out of control. We contain it at the early stages and we just, move forward from there. Um, Lesson number 13 would be that your department is ready to grow when your systems are in place. So, lesson number 13 is more about systems. And when you're in a large organization, and as business is going really well, sometimes as a head of a department, you need to grow your department because you know that the kind and the weight of the work needs more overheads or more budgets, more investment, etc. So for us to know that this growth has come not only strategically, but also it makes sense and things will not fall out. The balls will not be dropped because, sometimes departments grow really fast and actually that is problematic at a later stage. So for a very good, organic, solid growth, you know that the department is ready to grow the team when there's a proper system in place. So if there is any new people that's joining the department, they kind of easily integrate into the system and their place is very clear and things just keep smoothly moving forward. This is a lesson that works very well as a small business owner because we sometimes reach a place where we have more projects than we can handle, let's say, especially if you're a consultant or if you're a coach. So you reach to a point where you know that you need to start growing your team. However, if you grow too fast or if you grow without being organized or without having a system in place, what happens is that new people who come on board are not always aware of the size or the magnitude of their responsibility. So it either becomes chaotic or, somebody's going to drop the ball at one point. When you have a system in place, it becomes much easier to identify where exactly do you need to grow in your business, what is the kind of size of responsibility for that growth, and then it becomes easier to find the talent to fit into that role and to be the perfect fit to handle the kind of responsibility that is there that you know that you need support in. So systems, especially at scale, is really, really, really important. Lesson number 14 is hire your weakness. And I've learned that because we're all humans and sometimes the ego comes to play. So in a large organization environment, there have been lessons where you see department heads hiring people and then they keep micromanaging them because it not only gives them the satisfaction but also makes them feel that there is no threat on their position, on their responsibility. They always feel that they are needed to keep that department afloat. What happens is that, other than it leads to burnout to the department head, we all know that. But what happens is that you start having a lot of team members who are just duplicating work. And the department becomes very much dependent on the leader or the head of the department. So it's kind of dependent on one person. Um, if you translate that lesson into a small business, it's exactly the same. The business owner, when they're growing the team, if they don't think of what exactly is their weakness, so they look at new talents and new hires as complementary to them, what happens is that the business will never scale at the rate or the size that the business owner would dream of, simply because it is a one-man show, no matter how big or small their team is. At the end of the day, that business depends on one person, who's the business owner. But when we see things from a business angle, we take our ego out of it and we look at it in a collaborative form. We start looking to what our weaknesses are, and we tap into our zone of genius by focusing on it. And that happens only when we hire our weakness. Now, here there's a caveat. Now, I might not really like finance much, so I definitely want to hire an accountant, sure. But that doesn't mean as a business owner, I should not be aware of what kind of level my business needs in terms of finance, or what are the requirements for my business when it comes to finance and budgeting. I should be aware of it as a business owner. But since it is not my zone of genius, I am also aware that if I hire my weakness, by getting an accountant that is, I will have more time to do what actually impacts my business, which is being the face of the business, creating the product or services for that business, and selling it and growing from there. So there is that kind of leadership balance that we need to do, where it is the ego is set aside and we look at it from efficiencies and from a strengths and weaknesses thing. Number 15, the last learning, is that a leader gives creative freedom and works within a team. So, this I've learned as I grew in my corporate ladder, and the bigger the team that reported to me grew, the more I understood the importance of my role as a team leader to give that creative freedom for my team members to find their way of finding solutions, and not just my way of getting things done. And by giving them that creative freedom, I don't only empower them, but I actually learned that there are better ways to get things done, and there are more efficient ways to get things done than my way. Yes, I was a senior person, I was, heading the team, but that doesn't mean that the talents that I had on the team were not capable to find better ways to get things done than the way that I know how to get things done, especially when it comes to their specific roles or specific responsibilities. And having that kind of environment, that kind of culture within a small department or within the team, it builds up accountability. It builds up great team effort, and it also builds up confidence within the team members to know that every single person's role and every single person's job is part of the success of that department, or definitely as a business owner, is part of the success of that small business, because their work does count and they do add to the overall bottom line. So, this is an amazing lesson in terms of understanding how to manage people, understanding how to set expectations, but also understanding how to give them the right freedom to reach goals and to create systems that actually could benefit the business tremendously. So that was a very, very positive learning that I experienced. And I know that I've said 15, but something came up, and I'm going to give you a bonus learning. And that is, when something goes wrong, you're responsible as a leader. But when something goes right, the team takes the credit. And this bonus learning just came as we finished learning number 15. I say this because when you're heading an organization, people look up to you, and they also need to feel safe in that environment. So when you, as a business owner, when you create a culture where you take ownership when things go wrong, especially, and I'm saying when things go wrong, and that means when things are out of control, or when things were not calculated well, or not a very clear mistake that a particular team member did, where this becomes the core of their work. No, but I'm just looking at it from an overall thing. Like, if everybody's working, everybody did the job right, everything went as planned, but somehow targets were not met, or certain things in the goals were not reached. That happens. It's very important for the leaders to say, okay, we've all done the job right. We've all done it well. We've all put the right effort into it, but somehow we did not meet the goal. I take responsibility of that as a team leader. Let's start dissecting this activation and understanding where was the weaker link, and let's learn from that and let's rectify it and try again. That kind of gives creates a culture where people are not afraid to speak up, and also not afraid to take decisions and to look at the success the success of the project for them as an individual success, but also as a company success. And when goals are met and targets are reached, and there is reason to celebrate, credit has to be given. And as a team leader, as a business owner, we have to give credit to our team, because that is the biggest token of motivation. When people feel recognized, when people feel that they have been, they were under the spotlight of consideration, that puts them in a place where they feel like they are part of this small business. They are making a difference, and it will encourage them and give them that positive effect, knowing that they are doing what they love, and their work is showing and it is giving positive impact. So this comes down, it kind of boils down into leadership. And as small business owners, we have small teams, so leadership is very key to the success of our business. So that's another learning that I wanted to share with you today. So I hope that these 15 different lessons that have impacted me, I hope that you found some benefit from listening to them. There's just so much more I could think about as I record this episode for you today. But I believe that these 16 with the bonus, these 16 learnings, they were the most that taught me lessons that kind of very much translated and helped me in what I'm doing today. Creating the culture, creating the ethics, understanding what works and what not in a smaller environment within my business, and most importantly, being in that mindset of knowing that no matter how great we're doing, the center of all of this is the team that we're building and the clients that we are serving. And with that, we come to the end of today's episode. Thank you once again for having the time to be with me today. I want to invite you to please feel free to connect with me if you have any feedback, or if you would like to discuss any point. I really hope that you've subscribed to my podcast. I would be honored if you could give me a review. And if you think that my podcast is interesting or helpful to someone else, please feel free to share it. I can't wait to touch base with you this time next week. So till then, have a great week and take care.